That's good. We welcome you here too. Whether you choose to be seen on Zoom or not, you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, or how you speak, you are welcome here. No matter the color of your skin, your hair, or your eyes, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or how your family is composed, you are welcome here. Whether your ability to contribute comes in the form of time, talent, or treasure, you are welcome here. No matter how you express your gender identity or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears, you are welcome here. Come with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. You are welcome here. All right, would someone like to light the chalice?
My blood doth rise in the roots of an oak, the sap doth run in my veins, boundless my soul like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hands on the wings of time without end, my sight as deep as the sea, beating my heart since the measures of hope that have lost eternity. That of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on a far distant sand. Winging my song is the wind of my breast, and my love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. My foot carries days of the old interlude. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
Okay, and Steve will light the chalice for us today. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts, and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
May we shine a light of love. May we shine a light of love. With every thought, with every step we take, may we shine a light of love. May we shine a light of hope. May we shine a light of hope. With every thought, with every step we take, may we shine a light of hope.
All right, today's centering words are from Walden Pond by Henry David Thoreau, one of the patron saints of Unitarians. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach. And not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear.
Let's take a moment and think of gratitude. Gratitude is one of the strongest and most transformative states of being. It shifts your perspective from lack to abundance and allows you to focus on the good in your life, which in turn pulls more goodness into your reality. Jen Sincero.
Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in,
This congregation is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to its life, we affirm our lives within it.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
All right, I'm Steve Watson. I'm a member of this congregation. We introduced ourselves in the old days, so that's what I'm doing. The meaning of life. In philosophy, they call that one of the perennial questions. Perennial is a Latin word that means through the years. So it means people have been asking this question from 3,000 years BC up to the present day. And we're finally going to resolve this answer. We're finally going to come to a conclusion. I mean, people have been waiting 5,000 years for this to happen. First of all, I always like to say, since it's January, we have to remember the god Janus, who the month is named after. Janus was the god that as you walked through a door, there was a face looking at you. And as you went through the door and closed it, there was a face behind you. And the idea was that on the face in front of the door was looking behind you at your past. And as you went through the door, it was looking to the future, your future. So January is this kind of month where you kind of look to the past and look to the future. So what did you do last year that was meaningful? We're talking about meaning here. And I'll tell you one thing I did, and it's something that wouldn't be that meaningful, but I went to the Gay Pride Parade. We were here at church, and some people were gathering, and Wendy said, "Come on, do it." And I go, "Oh, I don't want it. I'm too old for that, you know." And so finally I decided, you know, it's been happening for 7 or 8 years. And every year we used to have Sherry, remember here, she would gather a bunch of people. She was really psyched up about the whole thing. Never went. This year I decided, you know what, I'm going to go. And Wendy lent me her rainbow umbrella. So we gathered over where we were gathering, and I bumped into Reverend Nature. I don't know if you know Reverend Nature. She used to be at the Little Episcopal Church where they have the Blessing of the Animals on Broadway. And she's an Anglican minister. And I asked her where she got her divinity degree, and she said, Yale. I thought, whoa, Yale, and you're here? Okay. So we were shooting the breeze. I said, are you still reading your philosophy and theology? Because I was a minister at one time. I still, she says, no. She said, I mostly read gardening books now. I'm kind of tired. But anyway, so we started going down because we had to walk down along White Avenue to turn on the 6th and go up Main Street. We had the parade was about 4 blocks long. But I remember we walked by the Methodist Church on 5th and White, and the minister was out there with about 4 or 5 members of the church, and they're just standing there waving at us as we go by, and their Reverend Nature said, "Hey, you Methodists, get down here and join the parade." So, but what kind of struck me too about the whole thing, there was a little church from Cedar Edge that had about 5 older ladies that came down for the parade, and there was a church from Montrose, and I said, wow, that's kind of touching, because you always think of gay rights and stuff as kind of a younger people's thing, and to see all these older people who managed to drive from Montrose and Cedar Edge to come down to our parade. And the parade was well attended. As I walked down Main Street, people would yell at me who knew me. It was kind of fun, you know, so that was, for me, was kind of a big deal, but in a way it wasn't a big deal. But it was meaningful to me that I finally did it, even though I thought about doing it, and I'm glad I did. In fact, I love this one t-shirt. This big burly guy right at the end of the parade on about 2nd Street, he had this big t-shirt on, it said, "Still gay after all these years." Okay, so the question we have to ask, what will I do this coming year? Because the past is the past to make my life more meaningful. And Socrates said, his famous saying is, the unexamined of life is not worth living. And to find meaning in our situation can get us through unhappy circumstances. You probably remember Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He was in the concentration camps during World War II, the Nazi concentration camps. And how, in a situation like that, how do you find meaning in life? Wow, that's tough. That's hard. And he wrote a book saying, that's what kind of kept him going, finding meaning in life. And it's hard to do sometimes because we didn't ask to be born, but here you are. And what do you do? And there's all kinds of people, religious and otherwise, that are having suggestions for us on how to bring meaning into our existence. And I'd like to read this little story that I read. This is a book, Think Again, which I recommend highly. It's about rethinking, critical thinking. Rethink the way you think. Think again about how you think. I'm going to tell you about this problem of meaning in life. And this is a guy that was sent to hell, okay? So here he is, he ends up in hell. And he said, a malaise set in within a couple hours of my arriving. A malaise is kind of a bad feeling. He said, I thought getting a job might help. It turns out I have a lot of relatives in hell. And using connections, I became the assistant to a demon who pulls people's teeth out. It wasn't actually a job, it was more of an internship, but I was eager. And at first it was kind of interesting. After a while though, you start asking yourself, is this what I came to hell for? To hand different kinds of pliers to a demon? And the demon was probably one of those guys, you're not doing it right. You hand it to me like this. I want you to hand it to me like that, okay? You're doing it wrong. You're not handing it. Okay, the guy was a pain. So even this guy goes to hell and he has all these contacts and he's still going, what am I doing here in hell? I got to figure out what some meaning. So everybody's got a problem. See, but don't feel alone. Confucius said to put meaning into our lives, we have to have it organized, and we got to polish ourselves like a diamond. You got to make yourself perfect. Be perfect. Jesus said, as your heavenly Father. We got to strive. We got to set goals and just do everything real concrete and have everything kind of lined up. And then you have the Taoist, kind of the opposite thing. They say you should be more spontaneous and see what life comes to you. What does life bring to you, and how do you respond to it? And sort of you kind of go with the flow instead of having everything set up ahead of time and all structured. You kind of let things happen. And Henry David Thoreau said at Walden Pond that he did not want to live what was not life. And I started thinking, what did he mean by living what was not life? And I thought of a passage from a song by Bob Dylan. And since I used to play all the Bob Dylan songbooks, I've used this book a ton. I thought of a little quote from Subterranean Homesick Blues. And this was the line that I thought might be appropriate. He says, get born, be born, get born, keep warm, short pants, then romance, learn to dance, get dressed, get blessed, please her, please him, buy gifts, don't steal, don't lift, 20 years of schooling, and they put you on the day shift. Now, sometimes that's how people live. We just kind of go along. You go, the short pants, you're a young kid, then you grow up, you kind of fall in love, you learn to dance, you get dressed and get blessed, maybe get married or whatever. Try to be a success. You go around trying to please everybody. You don't steal, you try to be good. And 20 years of schooling. Now, 20 years of schooling, that's graduate school. But I thought, sometimes life does not offer us the meaning we want. Sometimes we're looking for meaning. A lot of times when I see younger people, I'll say, well, are you a student or are you a working girl? Well, I'm both. But sometimes I'll say, no, I had to drop out of school because I didn't have money. So sometimes education if you don't have money, you can't get a college degree. And that does limit sometimes what you want to do in life. Not always, because not everybody wants to go to college. I don't want to get that idea. What about if you lived in South Africa during apartheid? What kind of meaning could you find in life with all the opportunities that would be denied you? Think of the blacks here in the United States, say in the 40s, 50s, 60s, all that. Think of refugees who have to leave their own country and go to a country they don't know the language, they don't know anybody, they don't have those connections the guy did in hell with his family. What about your parents? Were your parents, did they help you find meaning? You know, there's that expression, it takes you 40 years to get over what your parents did to you, you know. So sometimes people have parents that encourage them and sometimes you don't. What about children? Sometimes a girl will have a child so early in life that it really takes away all her options and what she can do, because now she can't do a lot of things she would have otherwise chosen to do. And of course, the main thing, what about health? If you don't have health, then there's a lot of things you just can't do because of other situations. So health also takes away the things you want to do. So what it is you're in situations where you can't do the things you want to do to find meaning. So how do you find meaning in spite of these conditions? You know, some religions say that meaning of life, this life, is found in the afterlife. Okay, you know, that affects how you live this life, because a lot of people live good lives in terms of what they want to happen in the next life. And the Eastern religions, of course, have karma, and they don't think of it as going to heaven. They think of it as being reborn. You know, you're reborn as a bug or something if you're not good. But how do we discover what means something to us in this life? How do you discover what means something to you? And I want to start off by saying some people get misled by catastrophe thinking. You put too much meaning into things. You know, I was reading a thing on the internet the other day, and there was a little boy, there was a baseball game, and one of the kids was assigned to call the balls and strikes. He was a lot of times an adult does that. Well, the kid called the ball a strike or strike a ball or something. And the fathers came down, and these two fathers are pounding on each other. And all the little kids are standing there with their jaws on the ground going, why does this mean so much? How can a stupid bad call in a baseball game with little kids? And Karen Horney, in her book, Neurosis and Human Growth, says, a lot of it comes down, you don't have a lot of meaning in your own life, and you take everything personal, like, this should not happen to me. I am a special person, and things like this should not happen to me. So you blow it out of proportion. We see this in road rage. And today, it seems like every time a politician does something, whether right or left, people are threatening to kill him. Is it that important that you got to kill somebody because they think differently than you? I mean, come on, people. This is catastrophe thinking, and the catastrophe is in your own mind. So let's not think about that kind of meaning. Okay, I'm going to start off with a real simple thing. How about money? How do you spend money? You know, I was at REI the other day. They had a t-shirt there for $80. Does a t-shirt mean that much to you? You pay $80 for it? Some people are going to buy it. Some people it means that much. So what? How about $150 for dinner? Some people say, I would never spend that much for dinner. It doesn't mean that much to me. How about $500 for a tattoo? I saw a guy, he had this tattoo. It was a rose tattoo on his arm. He said, this person is famous all over the United States. And I said, well, what did that little tattoo cost you? He said, $700. Obviously, it meant something to him. So you think, well, gee, am I going to use money? Yeah, you're going to use money to determine how you spend it. You know, there's a story, I don't know if you've ever read Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. I read it in high school. My teacher used to call it Geoffrey Chaucer at the window. He would watch all the pilgrims go by on their way to Canterbury because they were on a pilgrimage. And he was talking about all the various people that would walk by on a pilgrimage. And he saw this scholar. And he said the scholar looked like all of his clothes were just rags. And he looked like he hadn't eaten much. And he said, you know why? Because he spent all his money on books. Because books meant something to him, not the books themselves, but the knowledge. So here's a guy, food doesn't mean that much, clothes don't mean that much, but books mean the world to me. Ask yourself that question. How do you spend your money? It's a good question. Sometimes some people don't have enough money that they have, extra money to spend. They say, I spend my money on my gas bill, my rent, okay, that's that. But what would you spend extra money on? If you had extra money, how do you like to spend it? Let's also talk about, keep on the money situation. How about when you contribute money to charity? NPR is always, God, they're forever. And I was on the state board for public television. But you're always asking for money. I mean, it's constant, all day, every month of the year. And NPR is always having people come on and say, I contribute to NPR because I believe in the news service. I believe in it's unbiased. And I'm leaving it in my will because I want to make sure that NPR goes on long after I die. So when you think of where you contribute your money, like think of your UU church. Do you want to see us continuing to go on after you die? How much is the UU church worth to you? But there's all kinds of charities. I'm not just talking about the UU, when you start talking about charities, there's probably 1,000 of them that all are asking for your money, that all have something worthy. But it comes down to what means the most to you. And it's not so much how much you give. I always think of Jesus' little thing that the widow's mite. Remember, all these people were giving all this money, and the widow gave a single little penny. And he said she gave more than all the rest because that's all she had. Meaning is also found in the choices we make. We make choices all the time, and it's not the big choices we make, it's little choices. The people we hang around with, the books we read, the habits we form. How about the people who bring meaning into our lives? Again, I can go back to some people have a parent, people who showed us the kind of person we wanted to become. They brought meaning into our lives because they gave us encouragement or showed us a pathway that we could follow. It could have been a minister, it could have been a classmate, an old girlfriend, boyfriend, a child. Some people say they're inspired by their children, a teacher. Also, we have to be thankful for people who showed us who we don't want to become. You go, boy, when I look at that person, that tells me exactly the kind of person I never want to be. We got to be thankful for those people because they showed us what not to do. How about goals we shoot for or causes we commit to? Like the goals we shoot, what kind of community do you have? I was reading in this book here, this comedian. He said, I've always had a goal to write a book that ended in the word mayonnaise. Have you ever wanted to write a book that ended in the word mayonnaise? Why not? Maybe you haven't been thinking enough. I was thinking this poor guy goes to heaven. He just sneaks into heaven. And he's walking down a back alley so God doesn't find him. And God calls him up to the judgment seat and says, why didn't you ever write a book or have a goal to write a book ending in the word mayonnaise? And he goes, well, I didn't know I was supposed to. Oh, that's the same excuse you use when you didn't do your homework in 7th grade. That doesn't go over with God, But how about goals? How about taking a painting class? Okay. How about saying this year I'm going to read a play by Shakespeare? When was the last time you read a play by Shakespeare, except when you were in high school or college? By the way, No Fear Shakespeare. Barnes & Noble has these No Fear Shakespeare. So there's a paraphrase on the one side and Shakespeare on the other. So if you ever get bogged down in Shakespeare, you go over to the other side, they'll give you a paraphrase. It gets you away from being bogged down. But there's all kinds of things we can do. Sometimes things are fall in our lap, like a rescue operation. Everybody loves getting involved in rescues. Oh, wow, I'm really needed to help these people, like the fire in Boulder. You know, what can I do to help out? So sometimes challenges come our way. We don't have to come up with the idea ourselves. But sometimes we don't always have dramatic things to do to give our life meaning. And I was thinking, here at the church, we have a green team. Have you thought about helping out on the green team? Soup kitchen on the second Saturdays. Something to do for other members. There's all kinds of things we can do. You want to hear a cliche? Life is what you make it. Yeah. It's not what somebody else makes, it's what you make it. The old expression, you have to live your own life. Have you ever found out you're trying to live somebody else's life because they want you to live someone, and you say, you know what? I have to live my own life. One time in my own life, I found that out. I finally came to the conclusion, gee, you know what? I have to live my own life. Golly, that's an insight. So when we try to live our own life, sometimes it's important to explore new things. Like I got into birding because I was involved in it, and a guy, I went and asked the guy what this type of bird was. He said, well, that's a red-winged blackbird. And he said, oh, I thought it'd have a real fancy highfalutin name. No. And so I took a field trip and I walked down that Audubon trail by the Safeway store on the Redlands. And that day on that field trip, we saw about 40 birds. And I thought, God, there's 40 different types of birds on this trail. All I ever saw were magpies or robins. My God, I'm going through the world blind. You know, those are the little things that can put meaning into your life. Think about this. When was the last time you were in a museum? You know, there's a little cactus garden out at the Tri-River Extension, which is a CSU Extension Center on the fairgrounds. People drive from Denver to look at that cactus garden. Have you ever gone and looked at the cactus garden? You know, there's a cactus, it's the smallest cactus that we've ever discovered. It's as big as a dime. Can you imagine walking through the desert looking for a cactus that big? But these are things people do to put meaning into their lives. It doesn't mean that you have to, like, it doesn't mean, like I've been birding now for 20 years. And I talk to people about birding, and I'll say, by the way, there's a semi-palmated woodpecker over here, and they go, they don't even bother to walk over. Who cares, right? I mean, you can't make it mean something to somebody if they see a semi-palmated sandpiper or something. No, you got to find it yourself. We can't wait for life just to come to us all the time. We have to react. We have to kind of make things happen. So I'll leave you with this thought. What can I do this year of 2022 to make my life more fun? See, think of fun. Don't think of, oh my God, I got to go lose weight, or I got to go to the gym, or I got to, you know, no, just make it more fun. Hey, you know what? Sometimes it's hard to have fun. I see some people, they have a hard time having fun. Have you ever met people that have a hard time having fun? So here's the thing. I want to truly enjoy my life. How can I make that happen?
May I be filled with loving kindness.